Hey, how is everyone?
Hey, everybody. Can we get another round of applause? Let's get this energy up. I'm so happy to be here with Charlinda.
Tejo, hey.
I finally get to meet you. I've been seeing your
Supposed to
sauces
happen.
all over town.
I'm hanging in there, doing a couple things.
Yes. Yes. So we only have 45 minutes, and your story is one that I really want to just dive into. But I know Reggie gave us a brief bio, but if you could give us a quick just glance at, I guess, where you are right now. Like, we heard about the past and all the great things, but what's going on with you right now?
Well, the one thing that keeps me the most busy is I'm a mom. My son is an OG pandemic baby born in March 2020, David Dwayne. And that's my love, my passion, my purpose. I'm also part of a wonderful trio of women who are in the audience, Debria Rice and Jamaica White. We are co-founders of 6888 Kitchen Incubator. We're building a space in the Dayton Arcade for food businesses to scale. So between those two things, I think it keeps me pretty busy. And mutt sauce, because that is all the time. Yeah.
So, just to say this, I already talked to the co-owners over there, but yesterday I was like an unofficial outreach specialist for y'all because your table is right next to an organization that I work for, Co-op Dayton, and so everyone would come over and they were like, "What's Old Taste?" And I'm like, "Well, we're renovating a new kitchen over there, and it's a collaborative effort." But yeah, so okay. I know all about Old Taste.
We got to get her a jacket, y'all.
Hey. Well, part of this conversation is exciting for me because I've been doing Startup Week. This is my 3rd year. Thank you, Launch Day, and y'all I love y'all. But this year, it was really easy for me to promote our conversation. It would like come up in conversations very naturally, and I do a lot of promoting just because I believe in everything that I do. But this conversation, it was just very organic to promote, and it's because I feel like everybody is in a space where they feel like, they've failed or they're falling or they're trying to bounce back. But I feel like everybody is in the same space of like where they're about to take off. And so I really wanted this conversation to center around that space in between, like when you feel like you failed and when you're about to take off. But in order to get there, I kind of want to talk about the fall for you and like what did that look like? What does that mean? What happened?
Yeah, so there's a mantra that I have now I share with people is if you believe in something bigger than yourself, Rock Bottom has a trampoline. And that is my platform. That is what I talk about. But behind that, people want to know about accomplishments and things like that. But as a person, as an entrepreneur, I kind of feel like I failed my way up. That makes sense? Like I'm just a history of failing and keep going. And, that is something that we're always going to experience. And what makes it hard sometimes when I mentor entrepreneurs or founders is I hear them at rock bottom, and I hear sometimes the stories of trauma or things they've been through. And it's like, there's one of two things. One, the trauma and experiences that you have don't define you. And there is a real blessing in the fact that you're standing here intact talking about this in past tense. So don't ever forget that part. And then two, there's so much that you can accomplish once you realize why you're at rock bottom. And I grew up in Cookeville, Tennessee. I was a Tennessee country girl, grew up on a farm with my grandparents and my mom. And my granddad, I talk about him, the story of Mutt Sauce is about my grandfather, but he also had PTSD before we knew what that was. And if anybody's ever lived with a veteran or had to go through an experience with someone with PTSD, it's hard. It is hard. And you have to show a lot of grace and a lot of patience, but you're going to wear some scars just from that experience. But then my mom moved out on her own. She wanted to be independent. I have a strong Black independent mom. She moved into the project. So it wasn't until I was around other kids that you get teased that you're the poor project kid. So I said that was the first part of other people trying to define who you are for you and adding in their own insecurities and their own, mess into it. And growing up and trying to learn that what other people say you are, what other people say is your trajectory is not the truth. So.
Thank you for sharing. I heard a couple amens. You can shout if you want to. Please do it for me. So I really appreciate hearing that. And in looking at your story, one of the things that really sticks out to me, much like all, this, COVID talk and just like your business, but you had to kind of change your entire kind of business model in that space. There was a lot happening there. We'll dig into that. But do you contribute that or attribute like that as part of your failure? Like, is that a part of, where is that in the process?
Sure. I'm a veteran, and one thing that people might not realize, I live like a double life, like a double, triple life, y'all. I do a lot of work in Dayton, but I also travel the country talking about military veteran issues, encouraging veteran entrepreneurs, because they are a special niche of people. They're continuing to serve their country and give of themselves selflessly, and they just need a little bit of direction. But I also know that they're doing it in spite of challenges. Again, thinking back to my granddad and all the challenges that he had, I'm a 70% disabled veteran. And the one thing I get a lot is, oh, but you look fine. You look great. I'm like, yeah. Well, do you know how hard it was to get out of the house and go throughout a normal day? The disabled rating is how much of a challenge is it for you to look normal? That's what it is. So knowing that, I travel the country to encourage them and say, your scars might be invisible, but I understand. And I want to help you and meet you where you are. When I started Mutt Sauce, we had a business model that was mostly in-person events and festivals. There's tons of festivals in Ohio. So there's a lot of interacting with people. But the pandemic, for me, was a rock bottom moment. It started March 2020. My son was born in March 2020. I was sitting in the hospital rocking my baby. I turned on my phone, and every event that I had booked for 2020 was canceled with no refund. So I had zero projected revenue. Everything that people see with Mutt Sauce happened while I was holding my baby, going on YouTube, trying to figure out how to pivot my business. And now we're e-commerce, mainly e-commerce. We still have stores, but yeah, I mean, what I see as with my veteran lens, we do this thing called compartmentalization, and other people do it too, but mostly I see it in veterans, where when we're in stressful environments, we're taught to put it in a box. Put your emotions in a box. There's a mission to take care of. If you can't be out there in the field having a full breakdown, if you got to go save your comrade. So that is what I do in times of rock bottom moments. It's a time of reset, of reflection, and more specifically, what am I supposed to be learning right now? And whether you take that from an introspective place, or for me, it's bigger than me, so I'm consulting someone bigger than myself, faith-wise. What am I supposed to be learning right now in this moment? I know I feel a lot of pain. I know I feel a lot of confusion, but I'm pretty sure there's a purpose for this rock bottom moment. I'm just going to be still for a minute, meditate a little bit, figure it out. But that's in that moment, you have two things that you can do. You can wallow, woe is me, the sky is falling, oh my God, I'm not going to make it, or I'm about to bounce back. Y'all not ready.
I'm so glad I have you here to explain that, because when I saw that you had your baby and then everything with your business happened in the same month, I was like, what the hell? Excuse my language. But that was like strength. You're holding your baby And I now understand it's the taking it and putting it in a box and just moving forward. Do you feel like you found a moment to deal with those emotions? Like, I'm not trying to get too deep, but
No, yeah.
like, how do you put it in a box, but did you come back to them? Are you coming back to them? What does that look like?
Oh, yeah. Well, I definitely think you still need to open up the box, like take some time to open it up. Because what happens if you don't do that, it will open when you're not ready. It will open at a very inconvenient time, publicly maybe. And and you want to be able to feel like you have some control over that, because it can be messy. Cry it out and Netflix, whatever you got to do. Deal with it at the time. Like for me, I've had several rock bottom moments. I'm single now, but I've been through a divorce, and that happened at a time when everybody saw Mutt Sauce at possibly the highest point ever. The company had won the Bob Evans Award, and I was on TV and PR every day.
What year was that? I'm sorry.
2017.
Okay.
And I guess the feeling was I don't even have time for the nervous breakdown that I totally deserve right now. And everyone is so happy about what is happening with Mutt Sauce. My thought was, I don't want to ruin their high. That's what I was thinking about. I wasn't even thinking about myself. At the time that I was doing the press for Bob Evans, I was living in an apartment with no furniture, sleeping on a Coleman cot that I stole from the garage on my way out. But there were two things that happened in that rock bottom moment. It was, what are your core values and how much do they mean to you? Because you can't get those back if you sacrifice it. Can you live with yourself if you don't stand up for yourself in this moment? I was like, I need to be able to look at that chick in the mirror. I have to. My self-respect is everything. And I have this thing about love. Like children, when it comes to children, they don't learn about love from what you say. They learn about love from what they see in the interaction between you and the person you're with, or anybody. And if I ever had children, would this child learn what love is from watching us? And the answer was no. And so I had to go. But in that rock bottom moment of being in that apartment, I learned about who I care about, how much I respect myself, and what am I willing to do at this point in my life. And yeah, that's when people saw, like, shoot, she's moving back to Ohio and all this stuff is like happening very rapidly. It's because in that I feel like he gave me that moment. And when you look at it like that, it becomes like that was a very privileged time to have no one in my space to distract me.
Well, I feel like you keep leaving me speechless. But I just want to slide it in there. I write scripts, so when you're ready to write your movie, we can get together and, call Kerry Washington, you know what I'm saying? But yeah, no, that's really deep, and that duality is very interesting to me, to be in between two spaces where, like, you're experiencing a reality when you go outside and everyone's giving you these, congratulations and accolades and all of this, and then you go home and you're experiencing a totally different reality. And so you said that this was a part of the rock bottom too, a different, And so when in your quote, there's a trampoline, and it's different falling on the floor, but with a trampoline, there's a force to kind of push you up. Yeah. What were those forces that was helping you, like, come back up from the trampoline?
Well, I use the example of a trampoline because I truly believe if you were put on this earth, you were put on this earth for a great purpose, for something really good. It's not really something that we will ever find out. Like, I don't think that we can conceive of how great our purpose really was and the ripple effect that we're going to have and do have on people's lives. But you just weren't built to smack your face on the floor and stay there. You know, you just weren't. And if so, you know, why would life continue after a rock bottom moment? So that's why I call it a trampoline. So you can bounce back. You have the ability to do so. For me, it was people unexpectedly that would come to my aid, and they didn't even realize how much it meant. I had an assistant at the time, an exec, and she was a military spouse, and she called me, and she said, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "Hey, I'm in this apartment in D.C., like, I'm trying to get it together." And she said, you need to be back here in Ohio. These people care about you. I mean, they're still buying mud sauce. You're in D.C. And so she got a U-Haul and drove it to D.C. That is how I got back here. Because I also had, I know it just keeps going, I had foot surgery and couldn't drive. She drove and brought me back to Dayton. So her, my mother, her and my dad, they came all the way from Tennessee. They moved to Dayton to be here. So people have gone out of their way. Even the challenges of COVID, of not knowing what to do with this concept, this feeling of I want to help other entrepreneurs, food businesses to get back on their feet. I walked into downtown Dayton just ranting, and they said, "Do you know Jamaica and Debria?" No. They said, "They walked in here too." And they have a catering company, and they've been renting out their space in their kitchen to any food business who needs it, just to keep them on their feet. And I have this other saying is, don't surround yourself with like-minded people, surround yourself with like-hearted people. Because even when you're wrong, yeah. Even if you're wrong, they love you and will say you're wrong. But you know, they know it comes from a good place. And the like-heartedness of Jamaica and Debria, I knew instantly that even in spite of the pandemic, it took us 3 years to get to where we're at now. This is not an overnight idea. We met 3 years ago and have been grinding together, moms, ever since, in spite of everything, running our own companies, trying to take care of our kids. But we're like, it's going to work because our heart's in the right place. I love you, you love me, we love Dayton. It's going to work.
Yeah, shout out to the team. Shout out to Old Taste. It's interesting. It feels like you guys have been friends like your whole life. Like your energy and the vibe is, I felt like it would be longer than that. So that's really nice. Oh, awesome. Okay, so we talked about, people, you give a lot of credit to people being that force to help you come back up. And then what does coming up look like? In that space, is that where Old Taste, the idea for Old Taste came about? Yes.
So I've been mentoring before the pandemic. I just love to teach. I really love to teach. And there's a quote from Seneca that says, "There's no joy in anything unshared." So I get joy in sharing. I don't think you're supposed to go through life hoarding knowledge and things to yourself. You're supposed to pass it to someone else that needs it. No gatekeeping. It's really annoying when people do that, right? Like, why are you gatekeeping information? It could help someone. So I'd been volunteering with the Small Business Development Center, with SCORE, traveling the country, teaching veteran entrepreneurs about how to scale their businesses. And locally, what just kept coming up is, if I had a space and I can get out of my home kitchen, that would really help. If I had a place that met all the regulations, I could apply to get into Kroger. If I had, some storage for my food truck, that would be really great, and I don't have to drive really far to get storage for my food truck. And everything that I had learned up to that point, I was like, I know, I'm sitting here with the solution. I know it. I lived in D.C. I tried to expand Mutt Sauce to D.C., and there was a commercial kitchen called Union Kitchen. And they started out with 2 stories, and they said, we're gonna have this entire 5-story building. We're gonna have grocery stores filled with everything made in Union Kitchen. And this guy dreamed so big. I was like, prove it. You know, I gotta see it. And now he's got 3 grocery stores. The whole entire building's Union Kitchen. They're probably one of the biggest ones in the country. But I was given I had the vision in my head. So when I met Jamaica and Debria, they're like, what's your idea? I was like, hand me a whiteboard and a marker. And I was just like, I probably look like a mad scientist drawing this out on the board. And I was like, this is it. This is the vision. That's what we can do. And so now we are 3/4 of the way fundraised for this kitchen. We have a major investor, Fifth Third. Fifth Third Foundation invested $1 million. I think everything, we are grateful. We are so grateful. Miss Maria in the crowd, she sits on our board and she keeps us straight. We have a board of directors, which is a wonderful team. Every college is actually on the board. We have Central State, University of Dayton, Sinclair Culinary. Our board is pretty stacked, but what it's representative of is the fact that this community knows that this is not a pursuit of 3 people trying to, flex. Like, we have over 60 entrepreneurs that we can fit in the space. The waiting list is much longer than that, so.
And it's the largest in Ohio, right?
It will be the largest kitchen in Ohio.
Clap for that. I'm excited to see that, come into fruition. Definitely patient with y'all during this process, but it's a shared kitchen is something that has definitely been talked about in the community for so long, and I'm on the outside of the food business, so that says something. So congratulations on that. So now you have Old Taste. Mutt Sauce is e-commerce. That's what you said. Is that what it's called? And what other things are coming to you? What other visions do you have? Or are you just focused on these 2 right now and being a mom?
So alongside the kitchen, what I did see was that there was a gap in the education, which is my passion. And we're combining our talents. So we have Jamaica White is our program manager, so she's overseeing operations management. Debria is our kitchen manager, so she's doing the 101 work with the members of the kitchen, making sure that they have all their certifications, serve safe, all of that good stuff. My role as the executive director is to make sure that we're connecting with the community via community workforce development programs and education. I created Sharpen the Axe, which is financial literacy for food businesses, and it's very specific. So if you ever go to like a business accelerator, they're going to be talking about you need to start an LLC and you need to make sure you find capital. And every single time I'm sitting in one as a food business owner, I'm like, how do I get into Kroger? How do I get into Dots? Like, where do I get my barcode from? Where do I get my labels? What are my costs of goods sold for a food product? I'm answering those questions in my class. So Sharpen the Axe, you can go on otaste.org/STA. The class applications opened up today, so you can apply or tell any food business that needs it to apply. It's a 5-week course, hybrid, in-person, and then virtual for the rest of it. And the members of 6888 have to graduate from this class because we're not just creating a place for people to cook, not to come in and like, I need to make Thanksgiving dinner and I need some space. Nope, it's not like that. It is a place for food businesses who want to scale into either brick and mortars, be the best private chef, their meal prep company. Like, we want serious candidates because we want you to be seriously successful. But we need you to have that mindset. That is happening right now. Mutt Sauce had a great 2021. So after we pivoted, we became a QVC product. So we've been on QVC 3 times. We're onboarding with Amazon, a special program that they have. So you can see by Christmas, you'll have Amazon Prime Mutt Sauce. Yeah, and it was really great because they were looking at Black and brown founders, small business owners, and how they can help close that gap too. Like, how do you get to the top of the search for your business on Amazon? It's a behemoth. So a lot of that, like just e-commerce on steroids right now. And I actually pitched to 2 major retailers. So you'll see Mutt Sauce expanding in grocery stores in the U.S. in 2023. So I've been busy. It's been, but it's good because I feel like when you finally do connect with your purpose, when you finally reach a moment of self-actualization, where it's like, I know who I am, I know what my challenges are as a person, as an entrepreneur, and you're okay with saying, I need help. And I told my team, like, I suck at that, okay? I will do everything. Last resort is I need help, but I'll try everything before that. But as we've worked together, they noticed, they're like, you need to go sit down somewhere. Okay. Like I told you, like I was in the ER last night till 11 o'clock. I went mountain biking with a bunch of Navy SEALs. Don't do it. Don't. They're like, you've been mountain biking before? No, come on, let's go. So I tore my rotator cuff, and that was pretty painful. But the last couple days, there was a lot that could be done that I wanted to do, and they kept saying, no, don't sign into the meeting. No, go lay down. So I was able to rest this week because I had a good team that knew what my shortcomings were. I also have ADHD. So that is something that falls under this category of neurodiversity, neurodivergent versus neurotypical. We call it, black and white, straight line, and the technicolor, squiggly stuff. So I know that I think like that. So I surround myself, if you look at my team, have very neurotypical people on it. The e-commerce folks, anybody third party that I work with, they're very like, we'll get it done on this day at this time, and this is it. I'm like, you go. It's just, if it was up to me, I don't know.
I feel like that's a whole nother session to talk about, like, surrounding yourself and especially in the workplace and what kind of chemistry and energy works. And like, even on different teams that I've been a part of, I've done that too. Like, I love working with people that like, tell me what to do. Like, I just really like the directness and the, come on, focus, Tejal kind of energy.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Well, I mean, it goes back to surround yourself with like-hearted people. They do not have to think like you. And these entrepreneurs, sometimes I see it's like the self-licking ice cream cone. They're like, oh, this person didn't want to do exactly what I did. And like, they don't have to build the house the way that you would build the house. If they can still deliver a house, let them do it.
So right now on your journey, I am looking. So right now you just jumped from the trampoline. Is that where you are, or like where are you really right now in that?
Falling, jumping, keep falling, jumping. I mean, it's a continuous thing. That's the other part of rock bottom. It's a series of things. It could be one point of your life that's going really great, and another part looks like it's at rock bottom. But the whole point of it is to understand it when you're there, and to when you're there, your mindset and your perspective are really going to make a difference in the outcome. And that's what I wanted to hammer home to a lot of the people that I mentor is like, respect rock bottom for what it is. There's goodness there. There's stillness. There's so much there that is good for you if you let it be, instead of trying to like, I don't ever want to be at rock bottom, or I don't ever want negative feelings. And sometimes you got to be there.
Thank you for sharing.
Mm-hmm.
So I know that we have questions, and I feel like there's a lot of questions because when this session was posted, it was just a lot of like affirmation, and this is something that the community needs to talk about and hear. So I just wanted to make sure that we had enough time. So.
Oh.
I was just wondering if you could touch a little bit more on neurodivergency and how that has led you to rock bottom and how that has helped you jump off the trampoline into directions that are helpful.
Oh, yeah. That's a good question. So, it's really interesting because until recently, I didn't understand either. And I guess without that understanding of how my brain worked, I thought that it was wrong. I thought that there was something wrong. So like I said, neurodivergent is like colorful, squiggly line. Neurotypical is really straight and narrow. Neurodivergent is a group of things. It basically just means your brain operates at a different frequency, at a different level. The term is to take the stigma out of that, because in neurodiversity is ADHD, autism, that whole spectrum. And what we now know about autism is not that they are unintelligent. Some of them are brilliant, beyond comprehension brilliant, but they have an issue when it, facing the world, how it looks when it comes out. So ADHD is just part of that grouping of neurodivergent. When I was in the military, it was really hard. I have to say that my military service was a daily struggle, because things that I have a challenge with, I cannot. So neurodivergent, some people have the inability, I have the inability to conceive the passage of time. Weird, right? If I say I'll be there in 5 minutes, check on me. It might be 2 days. I don't know. Or if I say something happened the other day, that could have been 5 years ago. But I can recall it like it was yesterday. So, for painful experiences, that can be a challenge, because I can remember painful things like it happened yesterday. I have a hard time with it being far gone. But when it comes to recalling stuff that is random and sometimes not useful but happened a long time ago, I'm like, yeah, you remember that? I'm like, no. Are you kidding me? So learning about how your brain operates will help you in how you are as an entrepreneur, business person, to tell the like-hearted people, hey, I'm not good at that. You have to be vocal. We didn't really touch on balance, but I don't subscribe to balance. I don't think there's such thing as balance. When people are like, how do you balance motherhood? You don't. Because if you have your attention on one thing, you don't have your attention on something else. And as a business owner, there's going to be times where you have to hyper-focus and put it all in. The only thing that I saw as helpful for Mutt Sauce when I started was telling my family, hey, I need to know that y'all are like-hearted. I need to know that we're in this together, because I don't want to start a journey, because entrepreneurship is a journey. I don't want to start this without having y'all on my side, that you know that there are times I'm not going to spend time with you. I'm going to have to go to networking. I'm going to have to do these things. And we'll continue communicating. And if something is out of sync, I expect you to tell me. If I'm putting too much time over here, I need you to tell me. Same goes for relationships. If you got somebody, the last thing you want is a frenemy, right? You need to know that that person is by your side and supporting you, just like you would with military people when you deploy. Don't leave your family hanging, because when you come back, there's a retirement, and you got the rest of your life, and you need them to be happy for you and not sitting there with their arms folded like, now I got to spend the rest of my life with this fool who didn't care. The whole 20 years didn't care. Now you care. So do that. Communicate, over-communicate about everything you're doing. And that is my neurodivergent answer.
Here we are.
Thanks, sir. Good afternoon. Joshua Knowles with Knowles Davis Attorneys at Law.
Best attorneys.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. I generally come here and I ask a legal question, but you touched on something that really sticks with me. I'm a former educator, so you mentioned self-actualization. So when I think self-actualization or self-awareness, however you want to put it, I think strengths, weaknesses. I want to know your opinion on this. What do you prefer? Double down, triple down on your strengths, or put some focus into your weaknesses?
Well, that is a good question. Double down on your strengths, or what's the last part?
Put focus into your weaknesses.
Put focus into your weaknesses. I like to hire what I suck at. Hire what you suck at. Because, that will get you to your goal a lot faster. Like, sharpen the axe has been floating around in my head for about 4 years. But when we hired 2 military spouses, we hammered out the book in 4 months. But it took those 2 very talented women to put me on a calendar and say, on this day, on this hour and a half, you will hyper-focus on this one thing. If left to my own devices, it'd probably be 4 more years and a lot of conversations about what I want to do. I really want to do this thing. Some of you, I would say all of you, probably have multiple talents. There are so many things beyond your profession and what you do daily that you're passionate about. But there's something keeping you from that. You might need to bring someone in to pull it out of you, or to put you on a schedule to make sure that it happens. Hire what you suck at.
I 100% agree. Thank you.
Yeah.
I don't see weaknesses. I only see opportunities. When I look at me, and I see a shortcoming, it's an opportunity for me to hire someone who knows what's best and for me to grow. So I'll do some work inside myself.
I love you, Miss Maria.
Hi. So I just had a question, actually kind of piggybacking. It seems that by pleasant coincidence, I'm by your team, and I'm just wondering, how do you build a team of like-hearted individuals when you're like a solopreneur and you just don't know how to like ask for help or whatever?
Well, I mean, that last part is the first thing, really. Just saying, what's in my head is bigger than me, or what I'm trying to do is bigger than me. I need help. It's a very vulnerable thing to do, and usually the thing that we won't do. But when you speak up, you realize that what's been eating your lunch for a long time is like simple for somebody else. Like, they got it figured out. When I said something about I want to do Amazon, I think I was talking to Charles from Third Wave Water, and he's like, oh yeah, we're on Amazon. I'm like, you know how to do that? Yeah. You don't know how to do that? I'm like, dude, come on. So he's also, I would say, kindred spirits, because Third Wave Water and Mutt Sauce, we've both been on Shark Tank. So we have a different perspective on things because we've been on Shark Tank that might make some situations easier for us to grasp. But on the team, like, it's almost like a magnet. I don't say, because when I walked in saying there was a problem, people see it. Like, they can see too. They can see, hey, you know who's talking about what you're talking about? You know who sounds like they care about what you care about? Because Dayton is that collaborative, very collaborative. All you have to do is really speak up. Walk into downtown Dayton, talk to the Urban League, go into SCORE, Small Business Development Center. Their job is to connect you. And so walk into these places and say what you need to say, and their job is to find Jamaican debris.
Somebody's phone is here. I got my phone stolen yesterday, so. Oh, it was you.
So just to kind of piggyback off that, because like you mentioned earlier, I have a hard time with like letting go. I'm very much like, this is my baby, and this is my baby, and nobody's gonna touch her. And I've learned that's not a good attitude to have. But how do you kind of start to move outside that and trust and be like, yo, like I need help. I think you can help me. And more like the vetting process, I guess, of that. I kind of think kind of technically, so just,
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, you know, not to bite from Simon Sinek, but start with why. Why are you doing this? Like, why are you starting your company? Why do you want to go on this journey? Because for some of us, it's a long journey, and you got to really love it. But with that is, there might be a moment where you feel like, I'm stuck. I see that there's another level that I want to go to, but it's beyond just my ability. I do need help. What I did was, the foundation of Sharpen the Axe is based off of Abraham Lincoln, a quote from Abraham Lincoln. If you give me 6 hours to chop down a tree, I will spend 4 hours sharpening my axe. And that is with the mindset of preparation and building a foundation for your business. Don't, you know, it sounds like sexy, right? Jump off the cliff of entrepreneurship. No, don't do that. It hurts. It hurts. It hurts bad. Look, I tore my rotator cuff. It hurts. Don't jump off the cliff. Like, you need to build your parachute. You need to take the time to understand the intricacies of your own business. Because if you don't understand, another quote, Einstein, if you don't understand it enough yourself, you cannot explain it to anybody else. So you need to take the time to understand your own business before you go out saying, like, I don't want to accept any changes to my business. Because I think there's part of it is the humility factor. Like, I'm gonna humble myself to get the help. But two, if you don't want to be an e-commerce giant, or if you don't want to do that, if that's not where you see yourself going, and the work that you want to put into it, that you desire to put into it, don't accept that journey, because then you're just going to be unhappy. You're going to be going through the motions, unhappy about it. So yeah, know what you want, do the work in the foundation, but then explain it to someone simply so they can get you in the direction that is really meant for you. Yeah. So I would say, my example, Mutt Sauce, I went into SCORE and I said, I want to make a couple bottles for friends and family. And he kept saying, is that what you really want to do? Yeah, I mean, we lost my granddad. I want to make a couple bottles. Like, what is behind that, though? I said, I want to take care of my family. How? I grew up poor. I didn't have anything, so I don't ever want to have to worry about my family struggling. So you want to create multi-generational wealth. Yeah. You need to think bigger than a couple bottles. You need to be in Kroger. You need to do, So he started telling me about how to become a consumer packaged good, how you become the Kraft Heinz, how do you get acquired. He said the acquisition of your company will set you up for life, and your children and your grandchildren. That's what I hear you saying that you want to do. So I had to learn how to explain it to him, so he knew how to help me.
So, is there anybody on this side of the room who wants to ask a question? Here we go. There we go.
A little bit of shameless promotion here. I work with a brilliant fellow named Leah Torrey, and he actually came to launch date in this week. He's at a different session or talking with someone at the moment, and he came here, saw all of the businesses that had either started up in the last couple years or were trying to start up now, and went, "There's no database for this. Why is it so hard to find? Why am I just hearing about this company that's been around for the past 3 years that's a local business? I want to support local. Why is there not a database?" So I do have business cards that he printed out last night, and he started a website, and we would love for people to start signing up so that we can start that database, get people talking, get consumers able to look up local businesses and have an easy place to find everyone.
And also all right, fine. I guess I'll just hold the mic. And also a way for us to connect to each other. And so, so he came up with this idea first thing on Wednesday morning. And yesterday I came with him. I said, "Hey, I have a new addition to this." There was a lady in one class who was talking about teas and things like that, and needed herbs and flowers and fruits. And then somebody else in a completely different lecture was talking about how they do a lot with farming and gardening. And I'm like, we can add a way to connect each other, not just a database of I want to purchase locally, I want to support locally, but as a local small business entrepreneur, how can I utilize my fellow local entrepreneurs as resources too? So that was also part of the support idea too.
Thank you.
Who did?
Adequate.
Hi, Camille Hall. I didn't have a question, but more so just additional input on this theme of how do we build our team? How do we find our like-hearted individuals? And I just want everyone to just take into account where we are right now. If you have been at Startup Week over the past 3 days and have not made some sort of meaningful connection or got a nugget that you can take with you and like, hey, this is going to help me in my entrepreneurial journey, then I think that you haven't leveraged this experience enough. Myself, thank you. Myself, I work as a business services specialist, but to your point, and it's been inspirational because when we look at you and we see your accolades and everything that you've accomplished, it's almost hard to think that you've had rock bottoms, but being able to share that testimony is very inspirational to anyone in their entrepreneurial journey, because we do all have our strong suits and we have our pain points. And I think working in business services and also being an entrepreneur myself, I've had to humble myself to be able to reach out and say, hey, I don't know. I know some things. I'm great at some things, but I don't know this over here. So even being part of this 3-day experience, I have humbled myself and opened my mouth to say, hey, I need help with this. Yeah. And I have been able to find connections to help with my business. So I would just encourage everyone, step outside of your comfort zone. Network is the biggest thing. Network, and you can definitely be able to find like-hearted individuals.
Absolutely.